my yarny friends, I'm Sara Sach. Welcome back to my crochet channel, and welcome to another edition of Friday Fun Day. So what we're doing today, in case you don't know, is we are doing a crochet along for the year of 2025, and we made this beautiful graph that can be made into a hanger to hang on the wall, or you can make it into a pillow or whatever you would like to do with it. I'm doing both. I have a pillow and a hanger so that I can see how all the different pieces work. But if you don't want to make the whole hanger, that's okay, because each month we're releasing a coffee cup applique that can be placed on your pillow or wall hanger. But also, I'm going to show you how to add magnets to them so you can hang them right on your refrigerator. All right, and so each month we'll have a new style of coffee cup, and it can be a coffee cup, a teacup, a mug, any kind of hot cocoa or cup that we want. The nice thing is I'm theming them for each month, but the nice thing is you can make them in whatever colors that you would like. This is our beginning little teacup coffee cup, just a basic little coffee cup for the month of January. And we did a little embroidery flower on there, although my grandgirls say it looks like a butterfly, and I'm okay with that. I think it's pretty. And then last month we did this cute little, more of a teacup than a coffee cup, and we added this fun little puffy heart in the center and some whipped cream. This month we're making a nice big mug, because that's what I think of when I think of March, is a big mug of coffee. And then we used a similar technique and made a puffy clover. I'm going to show you how to make today's mug, whether you want to use it as an applique or a magnet. Now, I'll put all of the links for the patterns down in the notes underneath this video, and I am going to set up a playlist for this so that you can just go right to that playlist and find all the different mug and coffee cup patterns. All right? All righty. Now you can find the complete pattern for today's video, the written pattern with pictures. I'll put that link down in the notes underneath this video. I do want to remind you that the graph pattern and all the mug patterns have free Ravelry downloads. Okay, so when you go underneath this video and click on that link, it'll take you to my blog where all the pattern is written out and the pictures, and then there'll be a link on there that also says free Ravelry download. You can click that link. It'll take you straight to Ravelry where you can download the patterns for this project. All right, and each one of the coffee mugs will be a separate free pattern, and this is a separate free pattern as well. All right, so we have lots of supplies here, but don't be panicked, okay? You just need a small amount of orange, white, and green, and these are just medium weight number 4 acrylic yarns. And this green I chose because this one that I did the original, as much as I like it, it's a sparkly yarn. And so I'm going to use this to show you how to make the puffed clover, all right? Just a small amount. Not even half an ounce of each one. So we'll just say half an ounce of each color, but that's probably more than you're going to need. Any medium weight number 4 yarn will work. All right, so I'm going to set those aside. We're going to stitch up with our H hook, which is a 5 millimeter. You need a needle and a pair of scissors. All right, that's just to make the mug itself. Now, these are magnets that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. $1.25 for 12. You buy one of these, that's enough to do all your cups. But if you have leftover magnets from other things, you can use those as well. All right. I have a safety pin here because you can use safety pins to hook them on and take them off if you want to. This is a brooch pin that can be hot glued on to be used instead of just a safety pin. Or I found these fun little Velcro sticky backs. So I'm going to test them out today to see how they do on our wall hanging and pillow, because it's nice to have a little sticky there. The only thing is you're going to have to put a piece of the Velcro on the back of this, but you'll also have to put one on the O of your word home on your pillow or hanging, and that will stay there all the time. If you don't want to have the cup on there, you know, you'd end up with that little white circle. So that's something else you need to think about if you want to use Velcro. Now the last thing you're going to need is what I call sticky back felt. They come in sheets like this, and here's one I've already cut. And I just cut these little shapes like this. All right, and I'll show you how to do that. But I went back to Hobby Lobby last Friday, and I found more of these, and they're still at 99 cents a piece. And what we do is we use this to stabilize the magnet and the applique so it can be removed like on and off the refrigerator or the ones you want to attach to your pillow and wall hanging, okay? And this is, you don't have to do this. I just think it works really great in stabilizing them. Here's the first one that we did, and we just stuck it on the back, and it makes it a lot stiffer, and it won't like hang off your refrigerator or your pillow or wall hanging, okay? And of course, I'll show you how to do all of that. And this is a lot of extra things, but some of these things you may have just around your house. Like you might have some Velcro. You don't have to use the round ones. You can cut the long ones that are sticky back. Any kind of magnet will work. And of course, the last thing you need, of course, is to decide what kind of glue that you want to use. I am going to be using my hot glue gun with it's a medium heat hot glue gun to attach my magnet on, okay? But that's up to you. You can use any kind of glue that you prefer. E6000 works great, tacky glue. The only difference is you have to wait longer for it to dry, and I'm kind of an impatient person. We're going to be starting with the white yarn, so I grabbed my mat here so that you can see, because of course my table is white. All right, and I've got my orange ready also because we're going to be switching back and forth from white and orange. All right, so we're going to start with our slip knot. And we're going to chain 8 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Make sure I got some yarn out here. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to place a single crochet in the second chain from the hook, and then we'll stitch 1 single crochet in each of those chains. So we chained 8, and we started in the second chain from the hook. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 single crochets. We're going to chain 1 and turn. Now what we're going to do on row 2 is we're going to place 2 single crochets in our first single crochet. 1 and 2. Our chain 1s do not count as a stitch. All right, then we'll stitch across 1 single crochet in each until we reach that last single crochet. All right, now we'll stitch 2 single crochets in that last single crochet. So 1 and 2. We're not going to chain 1 because we are going to change our color. All right, so let's look at what we've done so far. We chained 8. We have 7 single crochets for row 1 because we skipped that first stitch. We chained 1. We stitched 2 single crochets in the first, 1 in the next, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2 in the last. So now we have 9 single crochets for row 2. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our color 2, which we're using the orange. And then we'll make our chain 1. And turn our work. We're going to leave our color 1 attached, and we're going to be stitching with our color 2. We're going to stitch 2 single crochets in our first stitch. Then we'll stitch 1 in each of the next 7. There we go. My yarn didn't want to come. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then we'll stitch 2 single crochets in that last stitch. 1 and 2. And we are going to stitch the next row in our orange, so we're going to go ahead and chain 1 and turn. All right, and so for row 3, we now have 11. Because we did 2 at the beginning and the end, and 1 in each of the 7 in between. Now we're not going to increase anymore, and so for row 4, we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those 11 single crochets across. And so what you'll see is that each of our colors, we're stitching 2 rows of each. Now, you don't have to do this color. You could do it all in rainbows, because we all know rainbows go with leprechauns and St. Patrick's Day. And so that would be really pretty also. All right, so for row 4, we just stitched 1 single crochet in each of those 11 stitches. We're not going to chain 1 because we're going to be changing back to our color 1. All right, so we're going to do row 5. We're going to grab our color 1 and chain 1. We're going to leave our color 2 attached, so just let that drop. There we go. And on this row, we're going to do our beginning of our puffy clover. So I've got my green here ready to go. All right, so we've changed back to our color 1. We've left our color 2 attached, and we're first going to single crochet in the first 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have single crocheted in our color 1, which is our white yarn. We're going to bring in our green, which is our color 3. We're going to leave still our white and orange attached. And now what we're going to do is we're going to stitch a 2 double crochet cluster in the next single crochet. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, go in that same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and only go through the first 2 loops, yarn over and go through all 3 of those loops, and chain 1. There's our first one. We're going to skip the next single crochet and repeat the 2 double crochet cluster in the next stitch. So now we have 2 double crochet clusters, which these will be the 2 bottom petals or leaves of our clover. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bring our white yarn back in. We are not going to cut our green yarn off yet because we're going to use it on the next row to make the next 2 petals. And so what we're going to do is we're going to come down here and stitch 1 single crochet in the last 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And chain 1. Okay, and you can kind of pooch those out because those are going to be puffy. Got electricity in my fingers. There we go. Alrighty, and this is the way that our row 5 should look. 4 single crochets 2 of our 2 double crochet clusters with a chain 1 in between, and then 4 single crochets. Now we're ready for row 6. Okay, so we're going to turn our work. We're going to single crochet in those first 4 single crochets. And again, we're using our color 1. There we go. And now we're going to bring our green back in. Snug everything down. Make sure the tails of your yarn are to the back. Okay, and now we're going to stitch in between these 2 clusters. So we're going to stitch a 2 double crochet cluster Okay, and I'm going to turn it over so you can see we stitched in between. All right. We chained 1. Now we're going to stitch another 2 double crochet cluster in between. All right, let's turn it over and look at it again. You can see that clover forming, and we'll make that space in here when we do the next row. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to drop our green. We'll bring back in our white. We're going to cut the green in just a second. I want to get it out of the way first. All right, I got the tangle out of my yarn. Now we're going to push this forward because I want that to be puffy, and we're going to single crochet in these last 4 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, we're going to bring our orange back in and chain 1 and turn. And this is the front of your work. But before we do that, we want to cut our green, but we're going to leave a tail of yarn because we're going to come back in and make that little stem for our clover. Okay, so we're done with the green. And now we're ready to begin row 7. All right, we're ready for row 7. All right, so we've got our orange yarn for this row. We're going to single crochet in those first 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to single crochet between those 2 double crochet clusters. We're going to chain 1 and then we're going to come right over here and stitch 1 in each of these 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll go ahead and chain 1 because we're not going to be changing colors. And the reason we do it this way is that's going to pull that down a little bit and it's going to make that clover stand out. Okay. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn. We'll stitch 1 single crochet in each of those 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stitch a single crochet in the chain 1 space, single crochet in the single crochet, single crochet in the chain 1 space, and then 1 single crochet in each of those 4. There's 3 and 4. All right, and we'll bring our white back in and chain 1. All right, so that's what it looks like on the back, and this is how it looks on the front. And you can see how that makes a puffy clover. Isn't that cute? All right, now we're ready for row 9. Okay, we changed colors back to our color 1, and we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those 11 stitches. And we'll do this all the way across. We'll chain 1 and turn, and then single crochet back across, and then we'll be finished with our color 1. right, there's my my 11th stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Chain 1 and turn, and 1 single crochet in each of these 11 stitches across. So I have completed row 10. We have 2 rows of white, 2 rows of orange, 2 rows of white, 2 rows of orange, 2 rows of white, with our puffy clover in between. All right, so now I'm going to bring in my orange. And this row, we're going to be stitching across and then all the way around, and then we're going to add that handle. All right, I'm just loving that puffy clover. All right, so we're going to do what we have been doing and stitch a single crochet in each of our stitches across. I've stitched a single crochet in each of those 11 stitches, and I think I forgot to tell you to cut off your white yarn because we're going to be finishing everything in color 2. All right, so when we get to the corner, we're going to chain 1 and stitch a single crochet right in that same stitch. And now we're going to try to stitch 1 single crochet at the end of each of our rows. Try to put it in the end of the stitch and not the hole for a nice, neat appearance. It's difficult sometimes. All right, so we're stitching down the side, evenly stitching single crochets. We're going to stitch across the bottom. And then all the way back up here. And when we come up here, we want to hide those places where we carried our yarn. And I'll show you that when we get there. So I single crocheted around and I'm going up this next side. And what we're going to do is we're going to stitch over our yarn just a little bit, the tails, and then we'll come back in and weave those in. I usually do a couple of stitches, just 1 or 2, sometimes 3. And then we'll just drop that to the back and we'll cut that off. Now, you also want to stitch over those tails of yarn there where we carried our yarn. We don't want that showing. And stitching over it with single crochets will cover it up just nicely. I'm going to pull that to the back there and stitch over that. All right. Now I want to chain 1 in this corner and join to that first single crochet. And the reason we're single crocheting in these 2 corners is we want that to have a sharp edge on it. Where down here, we want it to be just a little bit more rounded. Okay? That's how it should look at this point. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to grab my needle and weave these ends in so they're not in my way. I have weaved all the ends in except for this tail of yarn, and we're going to use that to make the little stem on our clover. But we're not going to do that just yet. The next thing we're going to do is make the handle. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1 and turn. We're going to slip stitch in the first 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We're going to skip the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and join to the next with a slip stitch, chain 1, and turn. This is going to be our handle. And so what we're going to do is we're going to stitch 8 single crochets around our handle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. We'll join back to that next stitch with a slip stitch, cut our yarn, and tie that off. And now we have a handle on our mug. All right. I'll make sure that corner is nice and crisp. All right, so let's turn this over. I'm going to go ahead and weave this orange one in. And then I'll show you how to make the stem on your clover. I've weaved this orange end in, and now we're going to do the stem on our clover. So we'll turn it over. I just come right up through the center and just make a couple of stitches, maybe at an angle or not. And that's going to give us the stem on our clover. There we go. Looks like it needs another stitch. Want to make sure it stays nice and long. And make sure you get it in a stitch or you'll lose it like that stitch I just did. There we go. Now we have a stem on our clover. And then I'll just weave this in back here. So what I did is I just took the mug and I cut a half circle, pulled the sticky back off and put it on the back. And it covers all of that up. Now, I like to leave this portion at the top, so that's where I can put the pin if I want to pin it on my pillow or my, whoops, or my, almost dropped my felt piece. Stick it on my wall hanging. All right, so we're going to put it on the back. We're going to leave a little bit on the top. And the truth is, no one's going to be looking at the back of this anyway, right? And that's how easy it is to put the sticky back on. So I grabbed one of the magnets. I'm just going to make a nice big glob of glue. And the reason I do this, I want it to come a little bit up on the sides to kind of help hold that magnet in place like that. Okay? I have decided that I do not want to use the Velcro on this because I don't want to put a dot of Velcro in the circle of my letter O on my pillow or wall hanging. But it is a good option if you want to try it. Something that I have found that works really neat are these. These are knitting stitch holders. What they do is if they want to use the needle, they slide those stitches on here. Then they can close this up and the stitches are held. And then when they go to use it on their needle again, they can just slide those stitches back on. But what I like to do with it is slide it through the stitches on here, only going through the back stitches. And you can see I'm not going through every stitch, just some of the loops, so that I can pin it on securely, okay? All right, let's get one more loop there. There we go. Then you can push it forward like this, and it's holding those stitches, and you can stitch it on your pillow or pin it on your pillow or your hanger, and it doesn't make any marks, and it stays hidden nice, and it's easy to remove and put back on. All right, these are just called stitch holders for knitting, and you can find these anywhere they have knitting supplies. All right, I really love this idea. So I've got one that has a magnet that's not completely dry, and one that has the pin on the back. I did notice that I made this corner on this one a little bit pokey, so I'm going to push it in so it looks a little more like the other one. So here are two of our March mugs with our puffy clover. The last thing I wanted to mention is that if you didn't want to do the puffy clover, on these rows where we did the puffy clover, just do solid rows of single crochet, and then you can add your buttons or whatever you want to it. You could even crochet a clover and attach it if you wanted to. And so that's our March mug of the month, our puffy clover, and it's super cute.